So we have successfully traveled through chapter 5, which dealt with showing us how to account for selling and purchasing inventory. Now we're going to look at inventory from a whole different perspective. We're going to step away from the traditional accounting, the debits, the credits, the journalizing, and the ledger. What we're going to do is we're going to learn how to identify costs, various costs. There's two important costs with inventory that we have to learn how to identify. Okay? Listen to me carefully and I will set it up to a great chapter. Inventory could do one of two things once you've purchased it. Inventory can do one of two things once you essentially purchase it. The purpose of inventory is to what? Sell it, obviously. So therefore, there's only one or two things that could happen to inventory. Inventory could get sold, or inventory could remain not sold. Either it could get sold or it doesn't. Two things. Either inventory gets sold or it doesn't. Okay? And so when inventory is sold and when inventory is not sold, it is affecting two costs, right? So think of inventory in this brief illustration. Give me one second. Brief illustration of 4 pens. Let's hope that all of these pens are the same. Let's just assume they're all the same, the exact same pens. Even though they're markers, let's consider them to be pens. And I have 4 right now, right? I have made some purchases throughout the period. Pay close attention. I started out, I bought this at a particular cost, right? Then I bought these 2 at a particular cost. And then I bought the last 4th one at another particular cost. So I bought one at a price that's different from the other 2. I bought 3 sets at all different prices. One a different price, these a different price, and another one a different price. So I have a total of inventory costing me a total cost of all of those prices, right? So I have 4 inventory units right now. Some of them are at different prices because I bought them at different times. Now assume that, and remember, pretend that these are all the same. They look exactly the same, class. But assume that I've sold 3. I've sold 3, right? So as I said, inventory could do one or two things. Either it could be sold or it doesn't. So there are 2 costs that are identified now, right? Listen to me. I have 3 units that I sold, but I need to identify the cost of those 3 units. I have 1 unit that I didn't sell. I need to still identify the cost of them. So what I'm asking myself, okay, at the end of the period I sold 3, but how much did those 3 cost me, knowing the fact that I bought them at different prices, also knowing the fact that they all look the same? How will I keep track of that? It's just impossible. And I use an example with 3 or 4 units, but the reality is you could use thousands of them. So you see the complexity. Vice versa. Of the units I didn't sell, that 1 unit I didn't sell, I still need to find out the what? Cost. How much was it costing me? And remember, I bought them all at different prices, so I don't know which one this one actually is because they all look the same. So those are 2 costs you have to identify. Now pay attention. This is the real deal you have to know. Started out with 4, sold 3. The 3 that I sold represents my cost of goods sold. I need to find out what was the cost of these units sold. The 1 that I have left represents the cost of my ending inventory. Represents the cost of what ending inventory I have left. And so that's what we're doing throughout this chapter. We're trying to find out how to identify 2 costs at all given time. The cost of the goods sold and the cost of the goods I have left in ending inventory. The cost of my ending inventory. 2 numbers. And there are 4 methods that we're going to use to calculate at any given time the cost of the goods that I sold and the cost of ending inventory. That pretty much is going to summarize this chapter. Now, there are, again, two systems that we deal with, perpetual and periodic. But for the sake of this course, I'm only going to teach you how to calculate it under the perpetual system. And that's all we're doing out of this chapter. Some of you guys are going to love it because it's going to click like this. I will say this too. Unfortunately, I have a very abstract, unorthodox teaching style, but it works, in my opinion. And I'm always one to be a very efficient thinker. You know, I work smart, not hard, and I like to train people to think that way. And the reason I'm saying that is because the way that I'm going to teach this method of how to account for this is much simpler than it is in the book. But the problem is that you're going to have to refer to my train of thought or my instructions per this video. You won't have a backup source in terms of the book to be able to understand, because the way that the book teaches it is totally different. So just bear with me. And from my experience, I've been teaching college, teaching accounting for over 10 years. Well over 10 years, since 2002. And roughly out of an entire class, I would say the most 10% may say, you know what? I like the book. The book is I like the book for whatever reason. More power to you, and I appreciate that. And I hope that the book may be easier for some of you guys. But for the majority of my experience, most of the class appreciate this way of thought. Okay?